Yes,
Perfect.
yes, I have added you as a pin, and the call is all yours, sir. Thank you.
Awesome. So, we, over the last 18 months with Impulse, is ranked #1, and because it's simple, but we really wanted to take it to another level with all the feedback that we had gotten from people over time. We would make little tweaks and enhancements to make it better, not to make it busy, but to make it better. And when we came out with this Impulse Overlays toolbar, the idea of it was that a lot of people, when they're first learning trading, or they're learning how to draw and put support and resistance or a trend line or something, they just really struggle. And it's where they screw up. So we just decided, you know what, why don't we just automate it for them? Why don't we just make this simple where it can actually draw it out for them so that they can see it on the chart? And what that would do is it would actually help them to know when that they should actually be able to get into trades, to see where trends are going, see if it's in momentum and consolidation, check out price action, check out divergence, and all those kinds of things. And so this is stuff that we've trained on, we've taught on, but no matter how much we've trained, no matter how much we've taught, still some people just don't know how to do it. And so we said, man, if we could create this toolbar and automate it for them and even give them some indicators, this will help them to know this may be a good time to take a trade. Okay. And not that we call out trades, but that the scanner can provide those opportunities. And so that was the purpose behind it, was to take it to another level, to simplify and automate the process, to take out some of that grunt work that people have to do in order to feel like that they could take a trade. Most people struggle with it. And that's why we put it together. So what we want to do today is we want to show it to you. We want to explain it to you, and then we want to be able to answer some of the questions. So first thing is, we did release a video yesterday, and for those who did not see it, I am going to go ahead and drop this in the chat because this was very important. So if you didn't see it, I'm going to put this in the chat right now, and you guys can actually watch it when we're done here. I'm going to put this to everyone right now. Okay, there we go. So I just put that. And basically, when we go over this today, you will now have a video to go back to, not only this recording, but what I just dropped there inside the chat to say, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can see how that this is going to work. And you'll have something that you can refer back to. And so what I want to do is bring on the man that I trade with each day. We've known each other 21 years. And both of us together have created the scanner. We've been educating for several years now. It's fun to work together on it to help bring you guys value. It's fun to see people winning. And it's just a joy each and every day to come into this office and be able to get the opportunity to work with Dr. Lee and to feed off of each other and gain more knowledge and wisdom and learning from, the failures as well as the successes. There's no way that either one of us could have done this without the other person, because when we were trying to do things on our own in terms of like trading and stuff like that, it was definitely more of a struggle. And when we decided to come together and say, let's trade together and let's teach together, and then we put this scanner together, it made the process more fun and also more successful. And so with that, Dr. Lee, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. I'm going to put myself on mute since we're in the same office. And guys, I want you to go ahead and blow up the chat for Dr. Josh Lee.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thank you, Abdullah, too. That was so great to see you in Croatia. Your outfit was absolutely fly, as they say. It was absolutely amazing. And so good to be with you all. And we really have to give all of you props as well, because the reality is many of the, you could say, epiphanies, the manifestations, the things that have come to light to help us to know how to improve the system, to even come out with this Impulse toolbar, came as a result of the opportunity that we've had over the last number of years to teach. When you teach, you learn yourself. And so we had to figure out, okay, if we're going to teach this price action principle, if we're going to teach this thing over here, that thing over there, we had to come up with rules and ways for people to duplicate this. Brandon often says the expression, he says, don't do what, no, what's the expression? I'm forgetting it. It says, don't do what replicates, do what duplicates, or something.
Oh, don't do what works, do what duplicates.
Yeah, he says, don't do what works, do what duplicates. And it's a powerful expression, because what it implies is that, even if one person, let's just say they've got the best intuition in the world with their trading, and they can win, right? the problem is you can't duplicate that. You can't hand somebody else your intuition. So even though it's possible for a person to get really good themselves, unless you can duplicate those results, those actions, those decisions, then it's kind of useless from a mass benefit kind of a standpoint. And one of the beautiful things about trading is that it allows people to benefit on a scalable level, because it doesn't take anything away from me when you trade, right? All of us, as more and more people come in most industries, it saturates the market, right? But with trading, we only expand the market. The more people that participate creates greater volume, greater stability in the price movement and everything. So it's just like, hey, the more the merrier, bring everybody on in. It's great. And so in any case, we just really appreciate all of you and the opportunity that we have had to teach, because this has also helped us to have some of the realizations that have brought us to where we're at today. And so today we're very excited about talking about the all-new Impulse Overlays toolbar. So we're going to talk about some of the initial ones that have been released, and then we'll talk about a timeline in terms of when things are going to be fully released with all of the different cool features. So I'm going to share my screen with you. There we go. And I want to talk kind of a little bit about the basics. So some of you may have been in Croatia, some of you may not have been. So just let me kind of give you that big picture view of what this is all about, et cetera. So Impulse itself, and I know many of you have used Impulse, and you're welcome to type Impulse in the chat if you're type a 1 in the chat if you've used Impulse before. We'd love to see that response. But what Impulse is all about and what kind of made Impulse legendary was that it simplified the direction consideration. You see, price is constantly moving strongly in a given direction, be it an uptrend or a downtrend. But because it moves in waves while it's headed in that direction, it kind of psychs a person out to where it's like, it's going up, but now it's retracing. And so they start to think in their mind, well, now it's going down. So they place sells only to have it keep going up, and they take loss after loss after loss. And it can be a very frustrating cycle. And so this wave-like formation of the price, turns out it's not the enemy. It's actually, in a sense, the good part of price and action analysis, but most people don't know how to do it. And so what Impulse did was it simplified the price direction analysis process to where seeing direction and interpreting direction became simple and automated, to where you could see that trend arrow points in the right direction. You could see the strength arrow points in the right direction. You can even see a strength score. It tells you how strong the trend is, to where it kind of indicates how likely is price to follow through in the direction of the trend. And so with all of the different things on Impulse, including the Impulse arrows, it's designed to make that simple. But as we've taught this over the last year or more, one of the things we realize is that with price action principles, meaning what are all the waves doing and so forth, that there was another kind of next level that we could take people to, and by helping them to automate the price action analysis process. And so what we did, and I'll go through this was actually part of the slides from our Croatia presentation. We said, direction is great, but what if Impulse itself could do a lot more, right? And I'll go through this quickly just to not bore you with these slides, but ultimately, what if this toolbar could help you to interpret or identify price action patterns? In other words, what if it could do it for you? What if it could identify those counter trend retracements or pullbacks when price is pulling back against the trend? What if it could identify that for you? What if it could identify divergence, which are basically reversal patterns in the market? What if it could identify breakouts and let you know, hey, when is price breaking out from this retracement? What if it could do that? What if it could identify macro and micro trends? What if it could even add or apply the Fibonacci retracement tool for you on a breakout leg to let you know where the approximate entry zone might be? You see, most of where people break down in their trading, besides the direction component, is that they don't know how to apply some of these useful tools. And so what we've done is we've created an entire rules-based system that allows it to apply these rules to help you along your price action analysis process. We've done the same for the volume profile tool. Macro harmonics, this is actually a completely proprietary and one-of-a-kind concept. It's based upon the XABCD pattern, which at first you're going to go like, I don't know what that is. And so if you've ever seen the harmonic scanner, it uses kind of these two triangle patterns. And this represents the combination of different waves. And without getting into all the details, what we have done is we haven't duplicated the harmonic scanner. It already does a great job for what it does. But what we've done is identified other unique complex harmonic patterns that help to identify continuation of the trend. And it identifies the exact moment when price is more likely to continue in the direction of the trend. So very powerful, completely proprietary, and you won't find this anywhere else in the world. So very, very powerful. And the cool thing is that with the new macro bar that we have brought out, you can also do this across multiple time frames, and not to just see it on each individual time frame, but to overlap them in the process of multi-time frame analysis. So introducing the all-new Impulse Overlays macro bar. So each of these icons, and there will be even more than this, each one represents a new tool, an overlay tool that you can then apply and overlay onto your chart at your convenience. And just by selecting one of these icons, you can either show it or you can hide it. That's an important element, because one of the things that Brand and I are very big on is simplicity. We don't want to busy up the chart. We've already got enough indicators as it is. Now, all of them are useful and we use them for a very specific reason, but we don't want to make your chart just overly busy. And so we want to provide you with useful information and in the moment information that can help you to identify potential trade setups. And I'll show you some examples today on this call. But in any case, it's important that the idea behind this, the term overlays, means that it will overlay it on top of your chart, but that you can hide it at any time without eliminating your indications or things of that nature. So a few of these include the macro trend arrow. The macro trend arrow tells you the overall directional bias of the trend. And I'll show you literally tonight kind of what that looks like. The macro pivots tool, it basically identifies, think of it as support and resistance in the market. But here's the cool thing. Most people, and you've probably experienced this, they look at horizontal support and resistance. But the actual support and resistance that exists in the marketplace is diagonal. And so we have introduced a proprietary tool that will identify that for you. Micro pivots, because market structure, support and resistance is a scalable concept. Within a given time frame, we show you both the macro structures, kind of those more obvious pivot points, as well as kind of the smaller little micro pivot points to give you improved precision with your entries and things of that nature. Just multiple ways of seeing that support and resistance. Macro fibs and macro volume are going to be applied to swing highs and swing lows. As you're going to love that. I won't go into too much detail right now, but that's kind of a basic overview of that. Macro divergence will identify early reversal patterns in the market. So when you're in an uptrend and you're going, when is this trend going to end? This will actually identify those early moments when the momentum is shifting and is likely going to create a reversal of that trend. So very cool. So reversals as well as continuations. Macroharmonics, as I said, helps to identify complex and proprietary macroharmonic patterns in the market to ultimately just indicate to you in a simple way when the price is breaking out in the direction of the trend. And then the macro time tool, which is the last one that I'll cover here, allows you to see any of these tools from multiple time frames. So let's just say that you're on the M5 time frame, but you want to see the M30 and the daily time frame retracements or support and resistance levels. So you simply select the M30 and the daily while you're on the M5, and boom, it would overlay those tools onto that same time frame chart, so that you can perform multi-time frame analysis at an entirely new level without ever having to even go to those higher time frames. So pretty darn cool, and with how that works. Okay, so let's go right over to the actual scanner. I'm going to refresh my screen here. And I want to show you a couple of these that we have initially released. Now, the reason why we're releasing this in phases is because as we unfold this, ultimately we've been doing all of our testing just to make sure that the way that it's been programmed works the way that it is designed to do. And so that quality control is extremely important, and we only want to release it once that has been the quality assurance component has been there. So over the next couple of weeks, you're going to see all of these different tools unfold. Initially, we have released the first three, which includes the macro trend, the macro pivot, and then micro pivot. Macro and micro just refers to kind of the broad scale versus the zoomed in scale of these different pivot points in the marketplace. So let's go through these. These are very simple, and I'll tell you exactly how we go about using these. Okay, so first things first is there's these two icons here to the left. And when you select these, you'll notice that the arrows and the indicators are hidden. So you could do that before, but it wasn't attached to an icon. So now you can view or hide your arrows just by clicking that first icon up at the top of my chart. And you can also hide or view the indicators, the impulse indicators, at that click of a button. So pretty cool with how that's visible there. And for some of you may not have been aware of this, but this little icon next to the American flag here at the top of my screen, if you select that, you can also hide or view the alert panel, which is very helpful when you're on like an iPad or a mobile device and you need a little bit more real estate for your chart. You can simply select that icon and it will actually hide your alert panel temporarily. All right, so now to the new features of the macro toolbar. So the macro trend, we select that icon and boom, this arrow appears. So what we have is a multi-step algorithm or a calculated approach to determine the primary directional bias of the trend. So this arrow will form when each of those conditions are met, and it will help to determine when a new directional bias is formed. Okay, so when the new trend is formed, it will help to indicate that is. And it's, again, a multi-step. We don't disclose what that is. It is a multi-step proprietary process. So don't ask us. We're not going to tell you what it is. But the good news is it's there for you to indicate. So like if we clicked on an uptrend, for example. All right, so here's an example here. You can see that our arrow is right there. Okay, so we've placed it at a convenient location to help you understand what the direction of the trend is, but just recognize that it's a proprietary multi-step process that determines that arrow. So what does that arrow ultimately mean? It doesn't mean buy, even though some people have actually been using it for that. It's quite effective, but ultimately what it's telling you is the primary directional bias of the trend. So it means that you should be looking for trades in that direction. So if there's any question in your mind, especially when price is in some consolidation and you're like, I'm not sure where it's going, that macro trend arrow can alert you to which true directional bias the market is currently in. And then you can look for other opportunities in relationship to that. All right, so the next thing is our macro pivots tool. So once you select the macro pivots tool, you're going to see a line form on your chart. And at first you'll be like, okay, so what does this line mean? What this line represents is a recent macro retracement and or support or resistance line. And so sometimes this price will be oscillating around this line. Other times it will, but it's designed to keep you in the direction of the trend. So let's talk through some examples. So we recently had a market shift, and what it's going to show you is the most recent macro retracement or support or resistance line. Okay. So as price was up previously above our primary trend line, and we had a previous uptrend, what this was tracking at the time that this formed was this overall. And I'll just kind of highlight this with another line just to make sure that you could see this clearly. Okay. This was basically saying, okay, this was a downward retracement. This was overhead resistance while price was in an uptrend. Now, on any retracement, there's always two basic possibilities. One, that price could break out and continue in the direction of the trend, or it could just continue on down and form an entirely new trend. In this particular case, it never broke out above that overhead resistance level, and it continued in the downward direction. So it helped to confirm or to identify a location where price could break out from. The idea of support and resistance is typically most effectively used when you see that resistance line and you get a breakout from it and then take the new direction. A lot of people use support and resistance. They say, well, if it's up there, I'll just take a sell off of that. You can do that as well, but the primary way that we've designed it to be utilized is to identify the breakout and then trade with the trend. That's kind of the basic idea. All right, so the second support resistance micro tool is the micro pivot point, which will identify any kind of recent micro pivot structures. And so this too is actually on this previous side. That's the most recent one. And so it will show up new ones as they form. Okay, and these can form on either side of the trend. And so the two most recent ones happen to be on the top side of that trend. Okay. All right, so let's look at, we were looking at an uptrend. So this one here, were we just on Euro NZD? Trying to remember. Yeah, we were just on Euro NZD. So let's look at another one just to give you an example. So here, for example, so now we're on the Aussie dollar to Swiss franc. We're on an M1 time frame chart. This works on all time frames, so it doesn't matter which one. And so we see two lines on our chart. So let's get these off our chart to show you step by step how this works. Macro trend. What's our primary directional bias? We look at that arrow. It's in the upward direction. That means we should only be looking for buys. Now, once we select the macro pivot point icon, it will identify the most recent upward retracement, okay, or just the most recent retracement that exists on the chart. And this is the most recent one. So even amidst all this, none of this has any retracements. That's why you don't see it amongst the new price action. So it'll identify the most recent. And so as price started to break out from this, okay, it didn't push beyond a recent pivot point. We do a whole training on this, but ultimately, that's why price continued to, in a sense, reverse against this previous downward directional bias. All right. And so, but ideally, if price broke out and then broke out beyond that first breakout wave, then we're more likely to get a continuation of the trend. Now, let's add to this picture our micro pivot and see what happens. All right, so we click on the micro pivot point. So this is going to show us our most recent micro structure. And now, as prices establish a new upward directional bias, Impulse is alerting us to say, hey, we've got a new overhead resistance level. And our basic approach to these lines is that if we get a breakout in the direction of the trend, we can trade in that direction. Okay, so we get a breakout, retest, continuation. So that's kind of how that works. Okay, let's look at some more pairs, and I'll show you even on different time frames. Let's go to an M15 time frame chart. And so here we've got an upward directional bias. This is also on the Aussie dollar to Swiss franc. Here's our most recent macro retracement line. This is basically acts as overhead resistance. And so once price breaks out from that area, in this case, it had a pretty significant breakout retest, and then we've got the continuation. This also shows us where our most recent micro retracement was. And so this was a micro retracement line, kind of an overhead resistance line. And we're starting to get a breakout from there. So here will be our resistance, and the expectation is that price will continue to go in the upward direction. Let's look at some other pairs. And we'll look at another time frame too. And we're kind of at the tail end of the day. The market's about to close here in a half hour, so not a whole lot's going on. But let's show you on this one right here. All right, so this is beautiful. So here we've got a downward directional bias, and this is even in some consolidation. So this will help to illustrate how powerful this is. If you've ever wondered, even when price is in consolidation, this is a 1 hour time frame chart, just so you're aware. Is price going to continue in a new direction? Is it going to continue to go in the existing direction? Like where is price going to go? Well, here, and I'll hide the micro pivots first. So here's our macro pivot retracement line. So this is saying, okay, our overall structure is following this path here. It moves above our primary trend line, okay? And so we did not get a breakout to the downside out of that, and thus we don't have a continuation opportunity to the downside. So this helps to keep you out of trades just as much as it helps you to get in the trades. Now, where you'll find this to be most beneficial is during the first 2 to 3 hours of any market session when the price is actually on the move. Like right now, price is just kind of flat. It's not really going anywhere. And so you're not going to see like loads of opportunities. You might see more consolidation. But this can help to alert you to where those areas of resistance are. So if we select the micro pivots, we'll hide the macro pivots, and we'll show you the micro pivots. This too was our most recent micro pivot. You could call it a resistance line. And so once again, price never broke out from that. Some people would use this just as a general support level. They say, well, if I'm looking for a buy, I'm going to buy off of that line. But notice how this isn't a moving average line. This isn't an Ichimoku cloud. This isn't a Keltner channel. This isn't some other random indicator. This is actually measuring price action. This is one of the only tools in existence that actually does this on the fly. And again, you can see these indications, and they update every time a new structural element shows up on the chart, and to where you can see both the macro and micro structural levels, and it automatically draws these support and resistance lines on your chart. And again, what you're primarily looking for is a breakout and a retest with respects to them, okay? So again, it doesn't matter what time frame chart that you're looking at or what asset that you're looking at, this will help you to identify these opportunities. So like right here was our micro retracement line, price breaks out from it, and we get the continuation. Now, the most recent macro structure was actually down here. And so, and price never broke out to the downside, thus we never had an opportunity there. So, there's, it's a very effective tool at helping us to know when price is likely going to continue versus not, right? And because it acts as support or resistance, you can also see like price is likely going to respond off of that level up there, okay, where that dashed line is. Let's show you a few more examples here. And sorry, just one second. So there's your macro trend arrow, our previous structural level. So this was our previous support line that is relevant to current price patterns. Here's our most recent micro retracement. So notice, like in this instance, the price is now breaking out. So we're likely to get a retest and then the continuation move from there. It's also on top of our recent support line. And so we're more likely to get continuation there. So again, where this really starts to shine is when you've got an active trend. This will help to identify retracements. So when you see these breakouts, you can look for those continuation moves in the direction of the trend. All right, so each of these additional icons will be rolling out over the coming weeks to identify, again, macromonics, Fibonacci, divergence, and many other features. But just to kind of give you a brief introduction, think of these diagonal lines as support and resistance. And so when price is pushing above, so if it breaks out above, what does that indicate? The price is likely going to continue above. If it breaks out below, then it's likely to continue in the downward direction. These lines automatically update anytime there's any new relevant structure. And so you don't have to figure that out. And you can automatically see where these support and resistance lines are. You can also keep these icons selected on your toolbar. You don't have to select them anew every time you go to a new pair. And it will automatically show you the most recent and relevant structural levels. Okay, so our most recent macro structural level was here. So right now, price is currently on top of that, but we just broke out on the micro pivot. So we're likely to get further downward movement, right? We're still way above this area of support. And so we've still got a lot of area where this can drop down. And so overall, we'll provide continuous training on these on our Go Live channel to help you to identify where these opportunities present themselves, how to use this on our live analysis sessions, both for indices, forex currencies and commodities, as well as crypto and stocks, which we're going to be doing on the stocks and crypto channel that we have. We'll show you how this applies on each of them. Now, for now, just so you know, this week the macro toolbar is only available on forex currencies. It will be available. Make sure this is clear. It will be available on commodities, digital currencies, indices, as well as stocks. So it will be available across the board, but just while they were doing some of the initial release testing, just to make sure that everything was working as it should, we opted to just make it available on forex currencies in the beginning, and then we'll continue to unfold it. And we'll also be providing a PDF guide, a full-on video guide covering every single icon, how they work, those type of ideal conditions on how to use them in the different scenarios of how they work. But again, like in this situation, when price is on top and then breaks out to the downside, that means price is more likely to continue in the downward direction. So here's our most recent micro retracement area. Once we get a breakout there, it indicates the price is more likely to continue in the direction of the trend. So very simple, straightforward to use. It's meant to identify price action, support, resistance levels, retracements, etc., for you. So it's a really, really beautiful thing. It'll apply to all time frames and all asset types. And again, you can hide any of these icons at will. The macro trend, lots of new strategies popping up with regards to our macro trend, because you can see it gets you in at some pretty amazing times. And so anyway, so stay tuned for that as well. So with that, I'll wrap up my portion of this call, but appreciate you having us on. We really hope that you benefit from the all new Impulse Overlays Macro Toolbar. As each of these different icons come available, we'll make sure and provide the training so that you are adequately informed on how to use it and how to benefit from it. But it really is going to be beneficial and a simplification of the entire price action analysis process. And so in any case, if you ever have any questions too, please feel free to reach out to us. We can do additional calls, additional trainings. More than happy to do so. We're here to help you guys succeed. So with that, let's see, I'll put a stop share there. And Brandon, I'll turn the time over to you here for a second.
Awesome. All right, perfect. I really hope that you guys can see the power of this. This is something that Josh and I have been working for many, many months on together. As we were getting feedback from people, we thought, wow, there's actually a way to be able to kind of automate this process and save people time and save them from the mistakes, because they already make mistakes with risk management and other things, putting in sell instead of buy on MetaTrader 4 and things like that. And so this was one of those steps we thought, if this can make it a little bit simpler for them to understand how and when to get in a trade, then that's just going to give them a better chance of success. And as things continue to open up with the toolbar, as well as the other asset types, you'll see that over the next number of days and next week, 2-3 weeks as well, as all of those open up. And it'll be a complete game changer. And we've already seen, as you were able to just see there with macro trend, we've already been able to see people who have been able to utilize it and succeed with it. We're getting tremendous feedback already. And here's the good news. We only know that it's just going to get better, because whatever we put out is going to be money. We want to make sure that people have an opportunity to have the best of the best, not something that's good. There's like good, better, best, right? We want to be best. Everything we want to put out is elite, whether it's a PowerPoint, a video, a tutorial. We want to make sure that we are giving you guys elite training, elite scanner, elite strategy. Because at the end of the day, you want an elite bank account. You want an elite relationships, right? You want elite fitness. You want elite trading accounts. And so just know that myself and Dr. Lee are extremely committed, not just to this team, but also to the entire IM Mastery Academy to give our very best to each of the students. And so thank you so much for having us on. And Abdullah, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to you. And really appreciate you having us on. And just so you know, by the way, we are willing to be on at any time that you guys want us on. If there's specific types of training, whether it be mindset, trading, business building, life, and so forth, we are more than happy to be on, and just appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to both of you. Really, really, truly appreciate for both of you to coming on this call. And I'm really excited where the future is leading in IM Mastery Academy, and especially with this impulse strategy. And truly appreciate your time coming on the call. Ladies and gents, let's show our appreciation. Let's put 777 in the chat for these our phenomenal leaders, our educators who are like selfless people who are always available. Did you see now they said anytime you need us, we are available for the call, additional trading. So literally IM Mastery Academy, this is home. That's how I see it, where we have this kind of support available. We have go live sessions. We have additional these Zoom calls. So ladies and gents, system is there for you. You just need to make a commitment and learn these phenomenal educators. Okay. So send them a message. They're available on social media as well. They can help you in different ways. Jump into their go live session. They are on TBX. They are on FRX. So we have countless amount of sessions. If you look into your back office, you will find a lot of sessions in IM.Center. So thank you once again to both of you for coming on this call and giving us this insightful training. Truly appreciate you. Thank you once again. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good day.
You too, sir. Thank you. So ladies and gents, here are our phenomenal educators. I hope this strategy is going to benefit you as it's going to benefit me. But the real deal is, the real question you need to ask yourself, are you willing to learn this skill set? Because we have those right tools, the system, the strategy, those educators with a tons of amount of experience. But the decision you are going to make, they can't decide for you. They can't make you to learn something if you are not willing to. If you are willing to, I can tell you something, it's a skill set. I do remember Mr. Brandon Boyd when he came on board in IM Mastery Academy, where his trading knowledge was and where it is today. It's a whole new level. And you can, they are helping you, they are shifting you the same knowledge, but the decision you need to make, okay, I'm going to commit myself. I'm not going to look for any shortcut. I'm not going to wait for any kind of trades. We have everything here, but I'm going to make a commitment to learn. That's the most important thing. I'm going to commit for the next 30, 60, 90 days, 6 months, and I will be a person who is jumping on to go live sessions and asking questions in the chat as well. If you don't understand anything, this is why when you don't understand anything, do not hold yourself back. Ask questions. Successful people, they always ask smart questions. Ask them questions. They are very, very down to earth people. No doubt they are very highly successful, but they are more than willing to help you to make sure the way they have learned, the way they are succeeding, you can be the next success story. So thank you very much, ladies and gents. Truly appreciate every single one of you as well, being part of this wonderful IM Academy, part of this organization, part of the entire family. And let's take the learning to the next level through this wonderful strategy of Impulse. This is IM Academy. This is home. Let's make it happen. Thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everyone.
Might be anyone, a lone fool out in the sun. Your heartbeat of solid gold. I love you, you'll never know. When the daylight comes, you feel so cold. You know, too afraid of my heart to let you go. We could